Hey friends, you're watching BrainStormAcres. I'm Henry.
And I'm Irene.
Well, the wind finally died down enough to get some more things done outside.
Right, it has been howling, and I've been hearing this. We're not the only people who are having that problem. I was chatting with somebody yesterday. We took a little drive because we just couldn't do some of the stuff we wanted to do outside because it was blowing too hard. And he said he's been trying to make a chicken coop for about the last month. And every time he gets out there, it's just too much. Too much.
You know, we should probably talk about working and working hard and working smart and working stupid.
Yeah. You know, when we were young and foolish, even then we
were foolish?
We were. But when we were young and foolish, we had both already done a lot of heavy labor as kids and young adults and stuff like that. So we knew what a wreck it could be if you really screwed it up. You know, a careless movement when you're slipping and pulling your back or something like that, and even when you're young, you know, it can really put you down for a while. And of course, the older you get, the longer it puts you down for, or maybe you don't ever come back from it completely.
Cedar gnats followed me inside.
Yeah, I'm a bit chewed up too. Henry and I are both allergic to the, well, they call them juniper gnats, pinon gnats, cedar gnats, depending on who you're talking to.
They're gnats.
They're a gnat, and they bite, and we're both allergic to them, so we get welts instead of just slight itchiness. Yeah, so much fun, but they're in stock right now, shall we say, outside.
They're in abundance. There's
Yes.
plenty of abundance here. Unfortunately, it's gnats. I'd rather it be something more interesting.
Right.
But we did a lot of hard work, especially early in our married life. I'd just been out of the hospital for about 6 weeks after an appendectomy, and I went to work at a classified munitions testing facility, and my first job was to stand a bunch of 55-gallon drums up that were full of liquid by hand.
Right. But, you know, because we had both had a background, I mean, you know, yeah, my parents lived in suburbia most of the time, and so did yours, but they still had a lot of heavy stuff that needed to be done, and you did it. There was no heavy equipment. There were not 25 friends who came over and helped you do something.
Yeah.
It was a normal part of life. You wanted to move a plant from over here to over there, and the root ball on it was 3 feet in diameter. You figured out how to use a pry bar to get it out of the ground,
Right.
and then put it onto a piece of burlap and skid it until you got it to the new hole that you had already dug, and then you put it in there. So it was learning things early, like using pry bars. There's a famous quotation about, you know,
If I had a fulcrum and a long enough pole, I could move the
earth.
world.
Right. Our daughter was in high school in California. She had a hunky young boyfriend at the time.
He's a really nice guy.
Oh, sweet guy.
He was a weightlifter.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a very buff guy.
Super buff, cute. I mean, you know, I'm sitting there going, I prefer men who've been through puberty. Because my daughter would say, oh, isn't he dreamy? And I'm like, you know, I mean, he's a kid. But he was one heck of a hunk of a kid. Surfer dude, you know, but he had the real good gym body.
Lots of muscles.
Lots of muscles, everything else. And we owned a piece of property up in the mountains at the time, and we were in the process of clearing French broom, which is a very invasive non-native species. She wants to go look out the window. Non-native species in the area there that just swamps all the stuff.
Yeah, so we were pulling all that by hand because you really couldn't bring heavy equipment in.
Right.
And there were protected plants that we didn't want to
watch out for.
Yeah, we didn't want the county to be on us for that. So we were pulling it by hand, which was an awful lot of work.
Right, and we were also moving logs because there had been a lot of standing dead wood on the property when we bought it, and we had taken down all the dead trees with a good old-fashioned chainsaw. We were moving those because we were going to burn them later during rainy season. And my daughter and he volunteered to come up that weekend, and we're like, oh yeah, we'll get you some pizza after, you know. And we figured, and they're like, this is gonna be fun. It's beautiful up there. I mean, it was gorgeous up there, just gorgeous. They started helping, and my daughter's chomping in there because she knows how to work. You know, she grew up in a household that worked.
And we'd been moving broom out of the way for a number of weeks. We had quite a pile stacked up, and they came up to help, and and Jennifer did a great job pulling, and
Right.
her
And-
friend.
Well, we were levering the logs, and honestly, I thought we were going to have to carry him off the mountain. And it wasn't that he wasn't fit, you know, in terms of looking great in a bikini. He was fit, you know, speedo, I guess you'd say for him.
Yeah, he didn't wear a bikini.
Yeah, he wore a speedo, but you know,
He wore jams actually.
yeah, because he was a surfer dude.
Yeah.
In terms of looking good in a bathing suit, he looked great, but he did not know how to work.
He could lift
Oh yeah,
a lot
you
of
put
weight.
him on a machine and say, lift, you know, do me a bench press, do me a butterfly, do me this, do me that, the other. Fine, no problem. But he did not know how to work.
Well, a lot of it was knowing the biomechanics of how his body really worked when you're trying to move something that was heavy from
And
one
awkward.
place to another.
Can your brain sit there and say, okay, what I need to do is I've got to get that rock out of the way because it's just not worth arguing with. And then I've got to roll this here. Then I've got the best thing to do is stand it up and then flip it over and lever it this way. Knowing how to do that kind of work is the kind of thing you need to know how to do if you're going to do homesteading. I see people who sit there and say, oh, well, I have to go to the gym. Oh, great.
I don't understand why if you're homesteading,
you need
to go to the gym.
Yeah, me neither. You know, if you need to work on a specific thing because you feel like your body's become a little unbalanced, just changing what you're doing. You know, like maybe work right-handed and left-handed, or like when I shovel, I'll shovel right-handed for a while and then I shovel in the other direction because it also uses different parts of my back. So I wear myself out less. People will say to us, oh gosh, you guys work so hard. And I'm like,
yeah, well, we do work hard. Well, we work a lot.
We work a lot.
That's for sure.
we work a lot.
And sometimes at the end of the day,
We're beat.
We're tired.
We're beat.
Really
I mean,
tired.
there's-
When we talk about working hard, this is the first time in 17 years that I haven't had to push a wheelbarrow uphill with stone or gravel or sand or, oh, they're after you.
Yeah, greenhouse. Anyway,
The greenhouse is after you.
greenhouse is after me.
This is the first year that I didn't have to do all that by hand with a wheelbarrow. And
Right.
it's 500 feet from the pile of dirt up to the beds that we've been
Yeah,
building. This is the first year that I haven't had to push by hand, which is nice because I spent a day on the tractor, actually 2 half days on the tractor because it got to be too windy,
Right.
moving dirt from the orchard, which is where the pile is, up here into the yard. That was really nice. But you know what? It didn't stop me from having to shovel down in the orchard and then later on up here. Irene was still shoveling. There's an awful lot of things that you still have to do even if you do have equipment.
Right.
So an awful lot of it is knowing yourself, knowing how fast you can work. We work at 2 different speeds.
Always have.
It kind of drives Irene crazy because
Yes, he was way slower than I want him to. Always has.
and she moves a lot faster than I want her to. Always has. She also walks a lot faster, but then she also has
Longer
3
legs.
3 inches on leg length to me. Knowing when to use a tool and when you can get away with not using a tool. We have crowbars of a variety of sizes. We have a post pounder.
Oh, we've got crowbars that range in size from little guys like this that are good for taking out nails up to big ones that are actually meant for chipping ice off of pavement and stuff like that are 6 feet long and that you can use for breaking caliche or stone even.
Breaker bars, right?
Yeah, breaker bars. But they're all crowbars in the sense of being used for prying something.
So you know, there's a lot of ways that you can learn if you don't already have good manual skills. Manual meaning doing things by hand, pushing a wheelbarrow, moving logs, moving dirt, moving rocks. There's places where you can learn it. Habitat for Humanity is a great place to learn a lot of basic skills because there are people there who know how to work and how to work safely.
Well, and you know, there you are. You know, you want to change the world. Most homesteaders want to change the world in some way. You want to change the world? There's a way to change the world. You want to learn how to do stuff? There's always volunteer organizations. I have heard of churches that will decide that they're going to, or other kind of service organizations that will say, we're going to help some of the elderly people in our neighborhoods who their gutters are falling off, or the gutters just need to be cleaned, or they need some help with their yard, or something like that. Those kind of service jobs, while you're still living in town, as a volunteer, just an hour or two here or there, you can learn an awful lot.
You know, there's a lot of things that you do every day in the suburbs that seem like no big deal. Let's take an example. You cut your grass, you don't have a grass catcher, so you rake the grass. That's a pretty quick thing. But you know, what most people don't realize is that there are some things that you do that are not a big deal when you do a small amount of it. But when you do more, you may be using a wrong technique, and you can start causing repetitive stress injuries. You can cause all manner of problems to yourself. So if you don't have a lot of experience or you don't have good technique, there's places to learn it.
Sometimes if you take some of the gardening classes and stuff, you'll be able to learn some things there. It'll probably teach you more gardening than it'll teach you ditch digging. But, you know, if you're taking a permaculture class, you might get to do some ditch digging too. Places like Home Depot, and I'm not giving them any major kudos for this, under normal circumstances, will have classes.
Yeah, they'll
How
teach
to build a birdhouse.
Yeah, they'll teach you how to do most anything that you want to do.
Because they want you to buy their stuff.
I think most large home improvement stores do the same thing. And interestingly enough, there are a lot of garden centers that will teach you how to dig holes to plant a tree, how to mix compost with your soil, do all those kinds of things, how to move a large thing that has a large root ball.
If, for some reason, you have someone come in to do something, watch them do it. Don't get in their way, but watch them do it. You can learn an awful lot.
There's a lot of manual skills that you can gain that don't take an awful lot of effort. It really takes a little practice. It takes someone to show you how to do it the first time, and maybe to check up on you periodically, because even though you can look at it and say, well, I do it like this and I know intellectually that's the way I do it, unless you've practiced it and have a little bit of muscle memory going on, it's going to be a major pain in your back.
Everywhere.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, everywhere. So there's just a lot of things you can do to prep yourself physically. But to me, the biggest prep is the mental prep. I see people going, oh, I'm too tired. I can't get out there. Are there ever days when we say that? Yeah, usually when we work several weeks in a row without a day off, we kind of go, I'm done. This is a really crappy day. I'm not going out there. You know, and we'll do something inside that's constructive instead. And constructive sometimes is just relaxing a little bit and maybe doing a little research online you've been wanting to do.
The consensus among people who have survived out here for any length of time is that if you make it to 6 months and a little bit more, chances are you're going to stay because you've done a lot of the hard work, so you know what hard work is about. Or you've been able to buy hard work.
If you don't want to work hard 7 days a week, don't become a homesteader.
There are a lot of things when it comes to doing hard work. We watch an awful lot of people standing on paint buckets to reach up on their walls. We watch people use an old piece of frayed rope to secure something that has some serious weight to it. Those are all things that if you work around construction or you work around heavy equipment, or you spend time at Habitat for Humanity or with a church group or any number of other ways to gain some skills and some knowledge, you know those are accidents waiting to happen. You know, yes, you can build your own scaffolding if you're building a dome structure. You can build your own scaffolding if you're building an earth bag structure. But you know what? If one of those scaffolds, one of those structures breaks, you're going down. Somebody's going to be hurt. It's a question of how much. And if you're building a place yourself, you really don't want to afford the time to be recovering from a broken leg, a broken arm, a twisted ankle, all those kinds of things.
And those are all repairable things. What if you break something that's not really repairable?
Do you know what time it is?
I think it's probably time to tell people that they need to figure out and think seriously before they consider being a homesteader. Because do I consider us to be the hardest working people out there? Oh, heck no. Not even sort of. We don't have any chickens or goats or cows.
Pigs.
We don't have any of those critters because we've chosen not to.
We've been out here for 16 years on site, 17 years that we've owned the place, and it's slowly getting better and better every year. It's difficult. It is a lot of hard work, especially here. If we were in Maine, or if we were in Massachusetts, or we were
Virginia,
in
where we used to live.
Virginia,
Yeah.
a lot of places that we've lived in the country.
Even New Mexico.
A lot of this stuff would be a piece of cake, but it isn't.
Oh, yeah.
So really, you need to get serious and honest with yourself when it comes to work. Yes, we work hard. Yes, we work long hours, generally speaking. We get a lot accomplished. Some of it you can see, a lot of it you can't. You know, we've really worked hard digging these trenches for the in-ground irrigation. It's getting filled in, and you can't see all that hard work.
Right. Still dealing with, I got to check the weather forecast again.
It froze last night.
Froze last night. The bird bath was frozen. It had about 1.5 inches of ice on the top of it. I double covered everything in the greenhouse in terms of tomatoes and peppers and real fragile stuff last night. So yeah, but we're postponed because there's a front that came down out of Canada that's raising havoc. Supposedly was going to snow in the Sierras and stuff like that.
I hope it snows like crazy in the Sierras.
Oh, I do too. I do too. The more snowpack, the better, because it means more water for the whole area.
Good night.
Yeah.
Hey, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and the bell for notifications, because
Obviously, we're going to be doing lots more stuff.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I know. So I got a whole greenhouse that needs to be planted out.
Thanks for watching. We'll talk with you later. Bye.
Bye.